The coffee smelled bitter. Steam curled into my eyes. I held the mug tightly. The kitchen lights flickered at 6:42 a.m., and the air was cold, metallic. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator, the creak of the old floorboards. Helen's voice on the phone from 1999 echoed in my mind. She had said, "Vincent, always check the numbers twice." I remembered the ledger she left on my desk, the smell of fresh ink, and the weight of the brass paperclip. I traced every line, every margin. I noticed a missing column now, decades later. I left the kitchen and stepped onto the driveway. Frost crunched under my boots. The street lamp cast a thin yellow beam over the snow. I counted the mailboxes, 14 on the block, each one a small rectangle in the dim morning. My hands were steady. My eyes scanned the house. The lock clicked. Michael's car was gone. I understood the timing. 3 hours to the meeting at 9:45 a.m. I had 20 minutes. Enough to act. I grabbed the silver locket from my coat pocket. Its chain was cold against my skin. The memory of Marie pressing it into my hand in 1978, after she closed the office door at 5:12 p.m., flooded me. I could almost smell her perfume, lilac and jasmine. The detail hit me sharply. I drove slowly. Street lights reflected off icy patches. My mind mapped every step Michael would take. Laura's voice from the driveway cut through the morning air. "Dad, why are you out so early?" I paused. I calculated. The plan had to be flawless. Every number mattered. $340,000 in the trust. 3 years of oversight. For missed meetings by Michael last week alone. The locket felt heavier than usual. I slid it back under my shirt. My eyes caught the mailbox with the red flag up. A small anomaly. Signals ignored for decades, now meaningful. My pulse was steady. The chill in the air sharpened my focus. The car's heater hummed. I noted the pattern of snow on the windshield. The street was empty. Too empty. I pictured the hallway inside Michael's house, where he had counted on silence. I would not give him that comfort. My internal voice ran through contingencies. He underestimated my patience. He misread my restraint. He assumed compliance. I had checked each window last night. Locked. Nothing to expose me. My hands did not shake. They would need to see me move deliberately. I thought about every lesson Marie had given me. Precision, observation, timing, each one layered with patience. I stopped at the intersection, idling. 3 houses down, a mailbox leaned to the right. Snow melted slightly around the base. A faint scent of wood smoke drifted up. Michael's route was predictable. Laura would leave the front door open for him. She always did at 7:08 a.m. The locket pressed against my chest, a constant reminder. My eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. No one followed. The engine ticked. I rehearsed the dialogue in my mind. "Good morning, Dad. Can you fix the garage door again? I'll be home at noon." I had to sound casual, effortless, unseen. I counted the cracks in the sidewalk. 27 distinct lines, each one a mark of order and time. My hands gripped the wheel. My strategy unfolded in real time. Each decision sequential. I had 3 minutes to make the call. My phone vibrated. 3 alerts, each from a different bank account, all red pending transfers. I froze for half a second, analyzed, recalculated. Everything aligned. Marie's handwriting on the locket flashed in memory. Numbers revealed truth. I drove past the old mailbox. Its red flag still up. One more street to go. The wind cut through the car vents. The smell of snow and exhaust mixed, harsh and sharp. I could hear the distant hum of a delivery truck. Timing precise. Every detail mapped. My mind ran scenarios for potential outcomes in 60 seconds. Michael would not anticipate patience mixed with sudden action. My gaze fell on the silver locket. It felt like the first time I held it in 1978. Cold metal, smooth surface, engraving fine and clear. Every inch a memory and a tool. The tires crunched over gravel. My phone beeped. One number blinking. Marcus Reynolds. I gripped the wheel tighter. I could almost hear the click of the basement door inside Michael's house. The shadow of the maple tree stretched over the front steps, exactly 7 feet from the door. I slowed the car, breathing measured. My eyes scanned for witnesses. None. The house sat quiet. I touched the locket again. Calculated. Ready. My mind mapped Marcus's arrival, every second critical. Then, from behind, a voice shouted sharply. Unexpected, full of authority and edge. "Vincent, they know you're here." The car engine cooled as I parked behind the strip mall at 7:56 a.m. The smell of asphalt and salt hit sharply. I could hear the distant rattle of a delivery truck, metal wheels grinding over uneven pavement. My hands clutched the steering wheel, cold and steady. I remembered Thomas Bell from 2003, my mentor at Greystone Corporation. The sharp scent of his aftershave lingered in my memory. He had said, "Numbers always tell the truth, Vincent." That lesson mattered now. I stepped out. The air bit at my cheeks. Fluorescent light from the nearby store reflected off icy patches. I counted 3 parked cars between me and the entrance. My shoes crunched over gravel, each step deliberate. The strip mall smelled faintly of coffee and disinfectant. I could hear the faint hum of an HVAC system. My internal calculations spun through possibilities. I needed precise timing. Michael would not anticipate a move this early. His overconfidence would be his weakness. The locket pressed against my chest reminded me of past precision. $340,000 in trust funds had been siphoned. 3 years of careful oversight. For missed appointments by Michael last week. I moved to the front of the convenience store. The glass door reflected my face. I examined every detail, every expression, each movement predicted. A notification buzzed on my phone. I glanced at the screen. A text from the bank read, "Transfer of $28,500 to account ending 1276 completed at 7:52 a.m. My pulse quickened. The transfer was logged but unseen. Timing was critical. I rehearsed my dialogue. "I will be inside in 3 minutes. Watch the entrance." The temperature inside the store was warm but smelled of fried foods. The fluorescent lights flickered, and the hum of the refrigerator made a steady background noise. I could feel the weight of every second pressing on me. I scanned the aisles. Shelves were stocked with exactly 49 items, arranged with clinical precision. My eyes focused on the register, the clerk moving precisely at 7:57 a.m. Each detail mattered. I considered Michael's predictable path home. He always stopped at the coffee shop next door at 8:02 a.m. I reviewed the internal sequence of events, 3 separate timing checkpoints before he would reach his car. I imagined Laura walking behind him. She would leave the door slightly ajar at 8:01 a.m. That small mistake could cost them. I counted the tiles. On the floor, 56. Each one a step in my calculation. The reflection of my hand on the cold metal shelf reminded me of the locket's weight. The store smelled faintly of cinnamon and bleach. My mind ran 3 contingency plans. Each plan relied on precise timing, specific dollar amounts, and my professional contacts. I stepped near the magazine rack. The papers rustled under a slight draft. I could hear the chime of the doorbell when another customer entered. I rehearsed my lines silently. "Excuse me, can you hold the door?" "Yes, of course." For seconds, enough for Marcus to position himself. I moved to the rear exit. The muffled noise of a delivery van passing completed the auditory backdrop. I glanced at my phone. One new email from Marcus marked urgent. "Vincent, he just left the house. Estimated arrival 8:10 a.m. Prepare." My mind froze for a fraction, processing the distance and timing. 62 feet from the front entrance to Michael's car. I adjusted my coat. The locket pressed against my chest heavier than before. I could feel the heat from the fluorescent lights on my neck. My internal monologue analyzed the risk, 3 key variables: distance, timing, and visibility. Everything aligned. I checked the watch again, 7:58 a.m. 1 minute until my first signal. I noticed the clerk arranging 3 stacks of cash at the register. The rhythm of his movements provided an unintended countdown. I could anticipate the next 4 seconds precisely. I stepped behind the magazine rack. The phone buzzed again. A push notification from the bank. Pending withdrawal. $12,500 scheduled at 8:03 a.m. My heart rate steadied. Everything was on track. I rehearsed one more time. Each movement, each breath, calculated. I turned toward the exit. Marcus would be at position 3, hidden by the newspaper stand. I noticed the reflection of Michael's watch glinting from the street lamp through the glass. Precise. Predictable. I could see the pattern, 3 consecutive streets he would pass. The weight of preparation, 35 years of observation, pressed on me. Then the phone vibrated one last time. A message appeared, time-stamped 7:59 a.m. "Vincent." Laura left a note on the kitchen counter. It says, $340,000 was transferred. Call me immediately. The wind rattled the wipers as I drove toward the abandoned warehouse at 8:03 a.m. The concrete under my tires was rough, chipped, cold. A faint smell of motor oil and mildew seeped from the open doors. I remembered Harold Simmons from 2012, my first mentor at Lakeside Consulting. His office smelled of cedar and leather. He had said, "Every misstep can be exploited if you watch carefully." That lesson now felt immediate. I pulled the car into a narrow lot. The warehouse loomed 45 feet tall, rusted corrugated panels creaking in the wind. Windows were grimy, letting in streaks of pale sunlight. My breath formed small clouds in the 34-degree air. I could hear a distant train horn, sharp and cutting. I counted 7 pallets stacked near the east door, each one a potential cover or obstacle. I checked my watch, 8:04 a.m. I had 6 minutes before Michael would arrive in the area. My hands rested on the wheel, tense but steady. The locket pressed against my chest, a tactile reminder of Marie. I rehearsed my approach, silently mapping exits and entry points. I noticed the metallic scent of the old doors. I could hear the subtle drip of water from a broken pipe overhead. My internal calculations ran 3 separate timing scenarios. Each one accounted for Michael's predictable path. My eyes scanned the warehouse interior through the chain-link fence. Shadows played across the floor, forming potential hiding spots. I noted the distance from the fence to the east door, 18 feet. The wind gusted, rattling the panels, a natural cover. My pulse was steady. My mind evaluated risk in real time. I remembered Evelyn Parker from 2008, a colleague at the finance department. Her perfume, lavender and mint, always lingered in my memory. She had warned, "Trust, but verify every single transaction." That memory sharpened my focus. I exited the car and approached the fence. Each step on the gravel sent small echoes. I crouched behind a stack of crates. I could hear the faint rumble of a sedan approaching. The warehouse smelled faintly of diesel now. My internal monologue reviewed contingencies. Michael would act impulsively. He assumed I was unaware. He miscalculated my patience. The locket reminded me of precision and timing. I adjusted my stance. My eyes caught a blue tarp fluttering 7 feet from the door. A minor detail, but crucial. I counted the cracks in the concrete beneath the fence, 29. Each a marker for distance and step. My phone vibrated once, showing Marcus's location, 3 blocks east, moving fast. I calculated their arrival. In 90 seconds, I shifted my weight, preparing for movement. I could hear Michael's car approach. Tires on asphalt, 45 feet from the warehouse entrance. My plan was simple but precise. I had 3 actions ready, each sequenced. The locket pressed tightly, grounding me. I considered Laura's pattern, always 2 steps behind Michael. Her presence could complicate timing. I inhaled sharply. The faint smell of exhaust mixed with damp concrete. I reviewed the financial numbers mentally. $28,500 recently transferred, $340,000 total missing from trust, 3 years of oversight. Each figure shaped my decision. I shifted behind a pallet, barely visible. The approaching car's headlights splashed across rusted metal. Shadows moved in rhythm with the tires. I could anticipate Michael's next 5 steps. My internal monologue ran a final assessment. Timing, distance, exposure, advantage, ready. I took the first step forward, planting my foot firmly. The gravel crunched loudly. The sedan slowed, engine idling, 42 feet from my position. I moved quickly toward the east door. My hand touched the cold metal handle. I paused. 3 seconds. The interior smelled sharper now, old wood and mildew. I could hear the soft click of the lock inside. My mind focused, calculating the exact angle to push the door open without sound. I shifted my weight, planted both feet. The handle turned slowly, then stopped. I could feel the resistance. I pushed harder. The door creaked, then swung open 3 inches. My heart rate steady. The warehouse interior now partially visible. Dust motes floated in shafts of sunlight. My eyes adjusted. I could see pallets, boxes, and the faint shadow of someone moving. I inhaled, smelling diesel and wood together. Every step had to be exact. I moved 2 feet inside. The door shifted behind me, barely audible. My phone in my pocket buzzed. A text from Marcus appeared. Inside now. Go. I knew the next steps could not be reversed. My hand gripped the locket. I took a deep breath. I stepped fully into the warehouse. Gravel crunched outside. The faint hum of a generator echoed. The blue tarp shifted. My foot touched the first pallet. Then a metallic click rang sharply. My heart froze. The crate above moved slightly, and the warehouse door slammed behind me with a force that could not be undone. The warehouse air smelled of damp wood and rust. Dust particles glinted in the early morning light, streaming through cracked windows. I remembered Carla Benson from 2015, my old client at Hollingsworth Accounting. Her office smelled faintly of coffee and old paper. She had warned, "Always cross-check every transaction, Vincent." That advice echoed now as I stepped into the alley behind the warehouse at 8:11 a.m. The concrete was slick from melting snow. The faint hiss of a distant steam pipe punctuated the silence. My hands tightened around the silver locket, each breath visible in the 38-degree air. I could hear the soft drip from a broken gutter. My internal calculations spun: distance, timing, exposure. Every variable mattered. The shadow of the chain-link fence stretched 42 feet across the alley. I noted the flicker of a neon sign reflecting off wet asphalt. My eyes caught a stray cardboard box. It would serve as cover. I checked my watch. 8:12 a.m. 1 minute until the expected arrival. I crouched behind a dumpster. The locket pressed firmly against my chest. I considered Michael's patterns. 3 years of observation gave me insight. Laura's habitual stops at the corner store at 8:05 a.m. would reveal his path. I rehearsed my movement sequences silently. My pulse steady. I heard footsteps on gravel, 21 distinct taps. Timing aligned. The air smelled faintly of gasoline and exhaust. I analyzed the interior of the warehouse through the side gate. Pallets stacked 17 feet high, boxes aligned in perfect rows, shadows forming natural corridors. My mind mapped the potential paths Michael would take. I adjusted the locket under my coat, reminded of Marie's advice. I focused on the numbers: $340,000 missing from trust, for missed appointments by Michael last week, 2 significant deposits unaccounted for. Each figure sharpened my strategy. I approached a wooden crate, weighing the options. The metallic clang from inside the warehouse echoed sharply. I calculated the distance to the exit, 26 feet. The floor beneath my feet felt uneven, gravel shifting. I could smell faint traces of oil and sawdust. My mind ran 3 scenarios: Michael's overconfidence, Laura's distraction, timing of Marcus' arrival. I positioned myself carefully. I breathed slowly, evenly, methodically. The locket felt heavier than usual, grounding me. My eyes scanned the street. 3 parked cars, 62 feet away, none moving. I listened for the sound of engines or distant footsteps. I rehearsed commands silently. Move left. Stop. Wait. Marcus' position, 3 blocks east, would be critical in 90 seconds. I adjusted my stance, ready to act. Every movement would be scrutinized, calculated. I could see the shadow of a delivery van passing the alley, a cover for Marcus. The sun glinted off broken glass in the alleyway. I noted the soft echo of a trash bin lid rattling. Each sound integrated into my spatial awareness. I considered Michael's predictable route: 8 steps from the curb to the warehouse door, 31 total paces from the alley. I shifted my weight slightly, listening. The faint click of a lock inside the warehouse made me pause. My internal monologue ran 4 parallel analyses: path, exposure, timing, reaction. I stepped closer to the fence. A gust of wind made the tarp flutter. I noted the pattern: 3-second intervals, predictable. My hands did not shake. I could hear the faint hum of a distant generator. I counted 8 metal steps leading to the side door, each step a marker for Marcus timing. My mind recalculated distances: 42 feet from alley entrance to pallets, 17 feet to stacked boxes, 31 paces from curb. I could see the faint reflection of a wristwatch on the warehouse door. Michael's timing precise, but predictable. I moved silently, covering each footstep. The locket pressed against my chest. I considered contingencies: 2 potential entrances, 3 backup paths, 1 misstep by Michael. I shifted behind a stack of crates. The floor smelled faintly of old tar and damp cardboard. My pulse steady. I adjusted my coat. I glanced at the sky. The sun had risen slightly, 8:17 a.m., casting long shadows. I rehearsed the final movements. Marcus would intercept from the east at 8 minutes past 8. My focus narrowed. I took a deep breath. Then a faint vibration from the phone in my pocket caught my attention. A push notification flashed. CCTV footage uploaded. Michael and Laura entered the warehouse at 8:16 a.m. My eyes widened. The footage confirmed their positions, every step they had taken inside the building. The parking garage smelled of gasoline and damp concrete. Fluorescent lights flickered at 8:21 a.m., casting long shadows along the walls. I remembered Gerald Thompson from 2007, my colleague at Northern Financial. His office had smelled faintly of leather and ink. He had told me, "Never trust numbers you do not verify yourself." That lesson sharpened my focus. I moved through the garage, counting support pillars. 27 concrete columns, each spaced exactly 12 feet apart. My steps echoed across the asphalt. The air was cold, 36 degrees, my breath visible in short puffs. I adjusted the silver locket under my coat. The faint hum of a nearby ventilation fan added a steady background noise. I considered Michael's timing. 8 minutes to reach the loading dock. For years of observation told me he would follow the same route. I calculated distances, 58 feet from entrance to first pillar, 21 feet to the stairwell. I checked my watch, 8:23 a.m. 3 minutes until expected arrival. My pulse steady. I peeked around the corner, noting the flicker of a security camera. I recalled Peter Callahan from 2011, my mentor at Summit Investments. His office had smelled faintly of mahogany and fresh paper. He had emphasized, "Details reveal the truth when you observe carefully." That memory guided my steps. I crouched behind a parked SUV. Tires on asphalt squeaked as a truck passed 32 feet away. I could hear a faint radio playing inside an office above the garage. The locket pressed against my chest, grounding me. I rehearsed 4 potential scenarios. Michael's predictable steps, Laura's habitual presence, Marcus' interception, timing of security sweeps. My hands did not tremble. I glanced at a small puddle near the column. Reflection of movement exact. I counted 8 steps from the stairwell to the exit. Each step a checkpoint. The cold concrete pressed against my knees as I shifted. I could smell oil and damp concrete strongly now. The air vibrated slightly from a passing truck. I considered the financial numbers again. $28,500 transferred at 8:16 a.m. Total missing $340,000. 3 years of oversight. Each figure reinforced my strategy. I heard footsteps approaching, faint but distinct. I readied myself. The locket felt like a weight and a guide. I mapped Marcus' path. East side entrance, 9 steps from cover. Timing crucial. I could see faint sunlight streaks through the garage vents. Dust motes danced in the beams. My mind ran 3 parallel analyses. Path, exposure, reaction. I shifted slightly, listening intently. I could hear the click of the stairwell door, 25 feet away. Every detail calculated. I rehearsed commands silently. Wait. Hold. Signal. My eyes caught a small reflection from a broken window, 37 inches above ground. The alignment matched my internal map. I checked my phone. Marcus 2 blocks east, moving fast, estimated arrival 8 minutes. Past 8. I adjusted stance, preparing for the next movement. The metallic scent of a support pillar filled my nose. My mind reviewed Laura's behavior, predictable stops at 8:20 a.m., possible observation points. I crouched lower. Gravel crunched under a nearby car. My pulse steady, attention focused. I could see faint shadows of other vehicles, 41 feet away. Timing of Marcus' interception confirmed. I shifted slightly, considering 3 alternative exit routes. My breath came slow. The locket pressed firmly against my chest. The air felt colder now, 34 degrees. Fluorescent hum steady. I counted concrete tiles, 43, each a marker. I moved 2 steps toward the stairwell. My internal monologue confirmed timing, distance, and expected obstacles. The wind whistled faintly through a gap in the garage door. I could smell diesel and damp cardboard. My eyes tracked the stairwell, 21 steps, each measured for timing. I could hear the distant hum of a ventilation fan. I stepped lightly, adjusting every movement. 3 seconds. My pulse steady. I readied myself. I turned slightly, catching the reflection of a wristwatch glinting at 8:24 a.m. outside the garage. A notification popped up on my phone. Wire transfer alert. $12,500 sent to account ending 1276 at 8:23 a.m. My mind froze for a fraction. The movement, timing, and transfer aligned perfectly. The cliffhanger hit. I realized every step Marcus took and every transfer by Michael had been monitored live. The small office smelled of paper and coffee grounds. Sunlight slanted through blinds at 8:32 a.m., illuminating dust particles in the air. I remembered Clara Whitman from 2009, a consultant at Evershade Accounting. Her office had smelled faintly of vanilla and old leather. She had said, "Always verify every detail twice, Vincent." That advice now felt urgent. I stepped into a narrow storage room adjacent to the main floor. The concrete walls radiated cold. Fluorescent lights hummed, casting uneven shadows. The smell of old cardboard and cleaning solution mixed sharply. I crouched near a stack of filing cabinets. My pulse steady. I considered Michael's predictable pattern. He had known my routines for 3 years. Laura's usual presence, at 33 feet from the door, remained consistent. The numbers mattered. $340,000 missing, $28,500 recent transfer, 3 years of oversight. My internal calculations ran through entry points, escape routes, and timing. Every movement mapped in my mind. The locket pressed against my chest, grounding me. I could hear the faint hiss of a ventilation pipe. My eyes tracked the stairwell. 21 steps, 12 inches each, precisely measured. I positioned myself behind a tall shelf. Shadows stretched long across the floor. I rehearsed commands silently. Wait. Signal. Move. The air felt 38 degrees. I could smell diesel faintly, mixed with dust. The hum of a generator pulsed softly. I caught the glint of a metallic object near the corner. A clipboard with transaction records. I crouched lower. My internal monologue reviewed contingencies, exposure, distance, and timing. My pulse stayed steady. I could hear Michael's footsteps on concrete. 25 distinct taps. The locket felt heavy, a tactile anchor. I mapped Marcus' arrival. 3 minutes, 30 seconds from current position. Fluorescent flicker reflected off the metal filing cabinet. My mind scanned every detail. I moved one step closer, careful. I checked the clipboard again. Recent transfer confirmed. Proxy confession started. Michael spoke on a speakerphone to Laura. Did you see the deposits? 42,000 went out yesterday. Yes, everything aligned. He will not notice until it's too late. We moved the other $12,500 this morning. He trusts her completely. By 8:35 a.m., all accounts are cleared. The trust now reads 0. I never thought Vincent would notice, but we're covered. If he does, we've still got the weekend before any action. Each sentence confirmed their calculations. I listened without moving. Each confession solidified my understanding. Every step, every number, every timestamp mattered. My mind recalculated response strategies. I considered contingencies. Marcus intercepts from east side entrance, timing at 8 minutes past 8. I could see the reflection of sunlight off a metal filing cabinet 42 feet away. My hands gripped the locket. I could feel the cold metal pressing against my chest. Each breath measured. Every muscle ready. I analyzed financial numbers again. $340,000 missing. $28,500 recent transfer. 3 years of oversight. Each figure reinforced the urgency. I adjusted my position slightly. The shadows shifted slightly. The metallic hum of fluorescent lights grew louder in my ears. I visualized Marcus entering from the east. Timing critical. Michael and Laura unaware of my proximity. I rehearsed movements silently. 2 steps forward, crouch, pause, signal. I counted. 27 seconds to next phase. My pulse steady. I moved 3 feet closer to the exit. I could hear a faint click from a door latch inside the room. The reflection from the metal surface caught my eye. I adjusted my grip on the locket. Internal calculations confirmed timing, distance, and exposure. I inhaled deeply. 3 steps toward the exit. The cool concrete pressed against my palms. One final check. Michael's position, Laura's proximity, Marcus' estimated arrival. All aligned perfectly. I took a deep breath. 1 deliberate step forward. Then a second. My heart steady. The locket heavy against my chest. I moved fully toward the exit. My foot pressed the floor firmly. 1 hand on the door handle. I turned it completely. The hinge creaked slightly, and I stepped into the hallway beyond, committing fully to the confrontation, action irreversible. The rain tapped lightly on the car roof at 10:45 p.m. I parked outside the high-rise parking garage. The air smelled of wet asphalt and exhaust fumes. I remembered Diane Lewis from 2014, my former partner at Crestfield Consulting. Her office had smelled faintly of jasmine and printer ink. She had said, "Every overlooked detail is a potential failure." That advice sharpened my focus. I stepped out and approached the stairwell entrance. Concrete walls radiated cold. Fluorescent lights flickered. The faint hum of a generator vibrated through the air. I could see puddles reflecting dim light. My hands gripped the silver locket. Shadows moved across the floor. I rehearsed the sequence silently. Timing, distance, observation. Michael's steps echoed inside. 22 paces from the elevator to the stairwell. Laura's pattern, consistent, predictable, 33 feet from the door. $340,000 missing. $28,500 recent transfer. 3 years of oversight. Each number reinforced my strategy. I crouched behind a stack of boxes. Dust smelled faintly of wood and mildew. The locket pressed against my chest. My eyes caught the reflection of a metal railing 39 feet away. My internal monologue calculated paths, coverage, reaction. The stairwell stairs creaked softly. 8 steps from the first landing. Each measured, precise. I reviewed Marcus' entry from the east corridor. 3 minutes away, 28 feet distant. I adjusted my stance. Fluorescent lights flickered again. I rehearsed movements silently. Keep watch. He won't see me. Make sure the cameras are disabled. Everything aligns perfectly at 10:47 p.m. If he notices, act immediately. The transfers were completed this morning. No mistakes, he trusts us completely. Their voices, unaware I listened, revealed every plan. I crouched, counting my steps carefully. Concrete cold against my palms. Dust rose with movement. Shadows shifted slightly. My pulse steady. My mind analyzed 3 scenarios simultaneously. Observation, timing, exposure. The locket grounded me. I noted the hum of fluorescent lights, faint but steady. I adjusted my gloves. Michael's predictable path, Laura's habitual presence, Marcus' interception. I could see the pattern clearly now. I stepped forward, 1 foot at a time. Internal calculations confirmed distance. 42 feet to stairwell landing, 21 steps to corridor exit, 15 seconds per step. Each detail mattered. I could hear ventilation hum, distant vehicle passing outside. Shadows shifted along the concrete wall. The locket pressed heavily against my chest. I adjusted my posture. I could anticipate each movement inside. I rehearsed for silent commands. Marcus' arrival crucial. Timing precise. I moved 2 feet closer to corridor entrance. Concrete cold, uneven. Dust mixed with metallic scent. Fluorescent lights flickered again. My pulse steady. I focused on Michael's location. 32 paces from entrance to stairwell. Laura, 33 feet behind. Numbers aligned perfectly. My mind reviewed financials. $28,500 transfer, $340,000 total missing. 3 years of oversight. Each reinforced urgency. I shifted behind a crate. The metallic smell of ventilation combined with concrete and dust. Internal monologue. Check paths, distance, timing, reaction. Eyes tracked movement. Pulse steady. I could see reflection from metal railings 40 feet away. I rehearsed silently. I stepped fully into the corridor. Foot pressed firmly on cold concrete. 1 hand on railing. Each breath controlled. Locket pressed against chest. Shadows stretched. I analyzed paths. I calculated timing. Marcus' position confirmed. Steps measured. I moved carefully. Then I paused. Realization hit, like a jolt. Laura's movements deviated. Michael's path altered slightly. My pulse quickened. 3 variables changed simultaneously. Path, timing, exposure. The entire plan needed adjustment. I froze for a moment, then whispered under my breath. Everything has shifted. They know more than I thought. The penthouse suite smelled of fresh paint and polished wood. Light from the city skyline at 10:55 p.m. spilled across the marble floor. I remembered Simon Hayes from 2010, my old accountant at Brookfield Finance. His office had smelled faintly of cedar and ink. He had said, "Always confirm every signature, Vincent." That memory sharpened my focus. I stepped into the penthouse lounge, marble cold beneath my shoes. The faint hum of the elevator motor vibrated through the floor. I could hear distant traffic, tires crunching over wet pavement. The locket pressed against my chest. Shadows stretched along walls and furniture. I could see Michael pacing 32 feet away. Laura sat 12 feet from the balcony door, unaware of my presence. I analyzed the financial documents on the table. $340,000 missing. $28,500 recent transfer. 3 years of oversight. My internal monologue calculated next moves, distance to each exit, timing, exposure. Each breath controlled. I moved to a glass partition 35 feet from Michael. The faint smell of varnish mixed with cold air. I rehearsed silently. Observe. Wait. Signal. Michael's voice broke the quiet. This is the last transfer. By 11 p.m., every account will be cleared. I verified every deposit. Nothing will go wrong. He will never suspect the weekend arrangements. The trust fund balance is now 0. We covered the $12,500 wire already. Make sure the ledger shows full compliance. Each sentence a self-incriminating admission. I counted. 5 minutes until the next scheduled action. Shadows shifted slightly. The locket felt heavier, grounding me. I analyzed distances. 32 feet to Michael, 12 feet to Laura, 48 feet to the ledger on the table. I mapped Marcus' approach from the side corridor, estimated arrival, 10 seconds. The floor hummed beneath me. I could hear the faint clatter of a dropped paperclip. My eyes caught a reflection from a marble column 45 feet away. I crouched slightly, rehearsing movements. I considered financial variables again. $340,000 missing. $28,500 recent transfer. 3 years oversight. Each number reinforced urgency. My pulse steady. I shifted one step forward, closer to the ledger. Concrete beneath, marble cold and hard. Fluorescent flicker on ceiling reflected off glass surfaces. Internal monologue. Timing, reaction, exposure. I noted shadows on the balcony, positions precise. My eyes adjusted to light changes. I rehearsed silently. Step. Crouch. Reach. Michael shifted slightly. Laura moved closer to the table. Distance, path, timing, calculated. I could anticipate their next 10 actions. The locket pressed firmly. I moved 3 feet closer to the ledger. My hand steady. I counted the tiles along the floor, 49. Each a marker. Shadows stretched across the room. I analyzed exit points. 2 windows, 1 balcony door, 1 side corridor. Marcus' arrival calculated, 10 seconds from current position. I adjusted stance. Fluorescent lights flickered. I inhaled, exhaled slowly. I placed one hand on the ledger. My eyes scanned the room, every detail considered. The locket pressed against my chest. I could see Michael's reflection on polished wood 25 feet away. Internal monologue ran multiple contingencies, exposure, distance, reaction. I stepped closer, deliberate. 22 seconds until Marcus reached position. My pulse steady. I gripped the locket, adjusted stance. I lifted a pen from the table. Ink cold and smooth. My fingers felt the weight. I checked distances. 32 feet to Michael, 12 feet to Laura, 48 feet to side exit. I rehearsed silently. Sign. Confirm. Execute. Shadows shifted slightly. The hum of city traffic below intensified. I counted the seconds. 5, 4, 3. Each step measured. I placed pen on ledger. Hand steady. Breath controlled. I signed the documents with one deliberate stroke. My heart rate steady. The metallic scratch of the pen on paper echoed. I could feel the weight of finality. The action complete, irreversible. My mind acknowledged the shift in power. Every number, every step, every calculation executed perfectly. Michael and Laura unaware. I stepped back from the table. The ink dried quickly under fluorescent light. I exhaled slowly. The ledger reflected in the polished wood. And I realized the trust now read 0. Everything irreversible. The courthouse lobby smelled of polished stone and old paper. It was 11:12 p.m. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. I remembered Daniel Mercer from 2006, my legal advisor during the Ridgeway acquisition. His office had smelled of cigar smoke and leather binders. He had told me, "Control is not taken. It is structured." That sentence stayed with me now. I stepped toward the marble counter. My shoes echoed across the floor. The air was warmer here, around 68 degrees. I could hear a distant elevator chime. A security guard stood 30 feet away, watching quietly. I adjusted the silver locket against my chest. It felt heavier than before. I placed my hand on the counter. The surface was smooth, cold, solid. My reflection stared back at me. I looked older. 67 years had weight. I considered the numbers again. $340,000 gone. $28,500 transferred earlier. 3 years of quiet manipulation. My internal thoughts sharpened. They believed control was already theirs. They believed the final move had already happened. They misunderstood the sequence entirely. Timing was never about speed. It was about positioning. I moved toward the clerk's desk. 22 feet across the lobby. My steps measured. The smell of ink and paper grew stronger. A clerk looked up at me. "Can I help you tonight?" "Yes," I said. "I need confirmation on a trust execution." She nodded slowly. "Name?" "On the account." "Vincent Carter." Her fingers moved across the keyboard. The clicking echoed faintly. I could hear the printer behind her warming up. I glanced at the digital clock. 11:13 p.m. Everything aligned. The clerk paused. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "This account shows a full withdrawal." "That is correct," I replied. "And the authorization?" she asked. I slid the signed ledger copy forward. "Executed at 10:55 p.m. She examined it carefully. "Signature matches," she said. "Everything is processed." I nodded once. My pulse steady. The locket pressed against my chest. I could feel the faint vibration of my phone, but I ignored it. This moment required clarity. I stepped back from the counter. I could hear footsteps approaching behind me. Slow. Measured. I turned slightly. Michael stood there. 12 feet away. Laura beside him. 8 feet closer to the exit. Their faces were tight. Controlled. But not calm. Michael spoke first. "You got here before us." His voice carried a slight edge. "I planned it that way," I said. Laura stepped forward. "You think signing something changes anything?" she asked. I looked at her directly. "It changes everything." Michael laughed once. Short. Controlled. "You always thought you were 10 steps ahead." "Not 10, I said. "Just enough." He took another step. Distance now 9 feet. "We moved every dollar," he said. "There is nothing left." I held his gaze. "That depends on what you think you moved." Laura crossed her arms. "The accounts are empty. We saw it ourselves." "Yes," I said. "You saw the surface." Michael's expression shifted slightly. A flicker. Small. But real. "What does that mean?" he asked. I let the silence stretch for 2 seconds. The hum of the lights filled the space. I could hear the guard shift his weight across the room. "It means," I said slowly, "you followed the numbers I wanted you to follow." Laura frowned. "That is not possible." I shook my head once. "You tracked $340,000 over 3 years." "Yes," Michael said. "We tracked everything." "No," I replied. "You tracked what I left visible." The clerk behind me stopped typing. The room felt quieter. He stepped closer. 6 feet now. "Explain it," Michael said. I studied his face. The same boy I had known for 37 years. The same man who thought he understood everything. "You moved $28,500 this morning," I said. "You cleared the visible trust." Laura's eyes widened slightly. "How do you know that?" she asked. I ignored the question. "But the real account," I continued, "was never the trust." Michael's jaw tightened. "What are you saying?" I took a slow breath. The locket pressed against my chest. Marie's voice and memory. Always see the whole picture. "I am saying," I said, "you spent 3 years emptying a decoy." Silence followed. Heavy. Absolute. The fluorescent lights buzzed louder in that silence. I watched their expressions change. Confusion first. Then calculation. Then something else. Realization. I could see it settle behind Michael's eyes. He stepped back half a pace. Not much, but enough. Laura's hands dropped slightly. Her confidence cracked. The numbers they believed in no longer held meaning. I stood there. Calm. Still. I did not feel anger. I did not feel victory. I felt clarity. 3 years of watching. 3 years of waiting. Every step placed carefully. And now, in that quiet courthouse lobby at 11:15 p.m., I understood something I had not fully seen before. This was never about the money they took. It was about the fact that they had never understood me at all. The balcony smelled of cool night air mixed with the faint scent of pine from nearby trees. City lights shimmered at 11:28 p.m., reflecting across the glass railing. I remembered Henry Caldwell from 2013, my old law associate at Whitman and Sons. His office had smelled faintly of coffee and polished wood. He had said, "Every conclusion must be verified, Vincent." That lesson guided me now. I stepped onto the balcony, concrete cold under my feet. A faint breeze brushed against my face. I could hear distant traffic, tires crunching on wet asphalt, and the faint hum of the city below. The locket pressed against my chest, grounding me. I scanned the streets 42 feet below. Shadows shifted from street lamps and passing cars. I reviewed the sequence of events silently. Michael and Laura had followed a predictable path for 3 years. $340,000 total missing, $28,500 transferred this morning, and 3 years of oversight all played into my calculations. I adjusted my stance. Each step forward measured. I recalled Daniel Mercer from 2006, my former legal advisor. His office had smelled faintly of cedar and ink. He had warned, "Trust only what you confirm yourself." That memory kept me alert. I could see the distant outline of the courthouse from the balcony, 37 feet away. The fluorescent lights from nearby offices flickered intermittently. Internal monologue ran 4 parallel assessments: path, timing, exposure, reaction. I reviewed Marcus' position. 3 minutes from entry. 28 feet from the side corridor. Timing crucial. I breathed slowly, measured. My eyes scanned the balcony floor. 39 tiles from the corner to the railing. Shadows stretched and flickered. I considered the financial records, the trust ledger, each number significant. Internal analysis. Michael miscalculated. Laura misread my patience. They had not anticipated the decoy accounts. Each detail reinforced the strategy. I moved 2 steps closer to the railing. Concrete cold beneath my shoes. The hum of distant traffic provided background. I counted seconds. 5, 6, 7. I could feel the locket heavy against my chest. The moonlight glinted off the railing. My gaze tracked the elevator shaft 52 feet away. I anticipated their reactions. Michael's patterns, Laura's habitual timing, Marcus' interception, all predicted. I shifted slightly. The balcony floor felt uneven under pressure. The locket pressed firmly. Internal thoughts. Maintain patience, leverage timing, ensure precision. I could see the reflection of streetlights in the glass panels 40 feet ahead. Shadows danced across the concrete. Each calculation precise. I moved carefully, 1 step at a time. Distance to railing 20 feet. Exposure minimal. Internal monologue. Every detail counts. I could hear faint traffic hum and distant pedestrian footsteps. I shifted stance again. I adjusted grip on the locket. Thoughts ran. Observe, calculate, act. I turned slightly to see the side corridor 48 feet away. The moonlight reflected off polished marble below. I rehearsed silently. Wait. Signal. Step. Internal analysis confirmed path, distance, and timing. I counted tiles along railing, 36. Each measured. Pulse steady. I could see the subtle movement of shadows from passing cars. Timing confirmed. I breathed deliberately. Steps measured. Observation acute. I adjusted stance for the final phase. Distance, timing, exposure, reaction all calculated. The locket felt like lead. I stepped to the edge of the balcony. Hand rested on glass railing. Breath controlled. Internal thought. All aligns, nothing overlooked. I looked at the city below, streets empty, reflections sharp. Step forward. Shift weight. Angle precise. I took a deep breath. The railing cold against my palms. Eyes fixed on streets 42 feet below. Internal review complete. Every number, every position, every step, every shadow. I exhaled slowly. I could hear faint hum from ventilation. My pulse steady. I adjusted stance. Step forward. 1 foot over edge. Balance precise. The locket pressed hard. Reflection of city lights danced across glass. I exhaled again. Another step forward. I felt gravity and weight. Action irreversible. And I realized fully that controlling every movement for 3 years had not just returned the trust. It had revealed that understanding people mattered far more than numbers, that patience outlasted impulsive ambition, and that even in the smallest gestures, power was measured by foresight rather than force.